There's a truth every trader eventually learns. The hardest part of trading isn't reading the charts, it's reading yourself. Behind every strategy, every system, every position, there's a mind that reacts to fear, to greed, to loss, to hope. And until you understand that mind, no rule, no method, no indicator will ever truly save you. This isn't about the market. It's about your psychology, the way your thoughts, emotions, and impulses shape your decisions. In this episode of Mind Over Markets, we're not going to talk about setups or entries or risk to reward ratios. We're going to talk about something far more important, how to build a daily loss limit that actually works not just on paper, but in your mind. Because trading discipline isn't about control, it's about awareness. It's not about never feeling emotion, it's about learning how to stay still when emotion comes. Take a deep breath, settle in, let's go beneath the surface. Let's go inside the psychology of trading. You sit in front of your screen. The charts glow quietly. You tell yourself today will be different. You've learned your lesson. You've promised to stay disciplined. You've written it down in your plan. My daily loss limit is 2%. If I hit that, I stop. Simple, logical, sensible. But then the market moves and so do you. One trade turns red, you close it. Another setup appears. You convince yourself this one is better. You enter again. It fails. You stare at the P&L, a small loss, but your chest feels tight. Your breathing changes. You whisper, I can get it back. That whisper becomes your downfall because in that moment, you're no longer trading the market. You're trading your emotions. You're not analyzing. You're reacting. You're not following your rules. You're protecting your ego. And by the time you realize it, your daily loss limit is gone. Not because the number was wrong, but because your mind couldn't respect it. This is where most traders fail, not because they lack a plan, but because they build their plan around logic, while their behavior runs on emotion. You see, a daily loss limit sounds like a technical rule, but it's really a psychological boundary. It's not about how much you can afford to lose. It's about how much pain your nervous system can handle before it tries to fight back. The problem isn't the rule. It's the illusion that you can stay rational when you're under emotional fire. You can't. No one can. You can study charts, master indicators, memorize every strategy in the world. But when you're in drawdown, when you're staring at red numbers flashing on the screen, the human brain doesn't care about logic. It cares about survival. Losses feel like danger. Danger activates fear. Fear demands action. And action in trading usually means revenge. That's why so many traders say, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I just can't do it. Because they're trying to fight biology with willpower. And biology always wins. The truth is, your daily loss limit doesn't fail when you hit the number. It fails long before that, the moment your self-awareness disappears. The moment your mind shifts from observer to defender. From let's execute the plan to I need to fix this. You think you're still trading the market, but you're actually trading your fear of losing. And that's a battle you'll never win. So before you build another risk rule, you need to build an understanding of yourself, because the purpose of a daily loss limit is not to stop you from losing money, it's to stop you from losing control. Let's go deeper. Why do we keep breaking our own rules even when we know it hurts us? Why do smart, disciplined, experienced traders still blow up on random Tuesdays? Because every trader has two versions of themselves. The rational one, who writes the plan, calculates risk, and thinks clearly. And the emotional one, who appears when pain shows up. The rational you sets the rule. The emotional you breaks it. And they don't speak the same language. The rational you says cut your loss. The emotional you says don't give up now. The rational you says stick to the limit. The emotional you says you can fix this. And as long as those two voices are at war, no rule will ever save you. This is why so many traders keep changing their systems. their indicators, their brokers, even their time frames, thinking they're fixing the problem, but they're not fixing the system, they're avoiding the self. The truth is uncomfortable. Trading isn't a test of knowledge. It's a test of emotional capacity. It's not about how much you know, it's about how much you can endure without self-destructing. When you lose, your body interprets it as pain. That pain demands resolution. But in trading, the only resolution that works is patience. And patience feels like doing nothing, which is torture for the human mind. So you act, you break the limit. You tell yourself it's just this once. And slowly your trading becomes an emotional feedback loop, a pattern of reacting, regretting, and repeating. You don't need another strategy. You need emotional awareness. Because awareness is the real stop loss. It's the difference between saying I'm down 2%, I should stop, and saying I'm feeling angry, I should pause. The first is mechanical. The second is psychological. And only one of them actually works. So ask yourself, what is your real daily loss limit? Not the number on your chart. The one inside your mind. How much pain can you take before you lose the ability to think clearly? That's your limit. And until you understand it, every plan you make will be built on sand. There's a moment every trader knows. It's quiet. The chart moves, but your mind isn't watching the market anymore. It's watching your pain. You stare at the screen frozen. You've already hit your daily limit. You know you should stop, but you can't. You whisper to yourself, just one more trade. You tell yourself you're calm, but your hands are shaking, your breath is shallow, your vision narrows. You see only the candles, not the context. And in that tunnel vision, logic disappears. All that remains is the need to erase the pain. That's the battlefield, not the market, not your strategy. The space between your thoughts, where fear and hope fight for control. Every trader loses there at least once. Some never leave. You see, the mind has a strange way of protecting itself. When you lose money, your brain interprets it as a threat, not financial, but existential. It feels like rejection, like failure, like shame. And shame demands redemption. You want to prove you're not the loser your P&L says you are. You want to win back your self-worth, not just your capital. So you break your rule. You enter another trade. And for a few moments, you feel alive again because doing something feels better than doing nothing. But this is the trap. You don't realize that every click you make isn't a trading decision. It's an emotional reaction. You're not fighting the market. You're fighting the part of yourself that can't stand to feel helpless. The loss isn't just in your account, it's in your identity. You see yourself as a trader. But when you lose that identity, cracks. You start to question your competence, your worth, your future. And that pain is unbearable. So you do the only thing your brain knows to escape it, you trade again. Revenge trading isn't about greed. It's about pain avoidance. You're not chasing profit, you're chasing relief. That's why stopping feels impossible. Because stopping means sitting with the pain. And sitting with pain feels like weakness. But it isn't. It's actually the strongest thing you can do, because real discipline isn't the ability to push buttons. It's the ability to stay still when everything inside you screams to move. That's what separates a professional from an emotional trader. Not knowledge, not intelligence, but awareness. The professional knows when they're no longer objective. They know when the voice in their head has shifted from observer to gambler. And when that moment comes, they step away. Not because they don't feel the urge, but because they've learned that the urge is a trap. They've learned that emotional clarity is capital. And once that's gone, no amount of skill will save you. Most traders think trading is about controlling the market. It's not. It's about controlling the version of yourself that shows up when you're losing. And that version, the emotional self, doesn't respond to rules. It responds to structure, ritual, and awareness. When your body is in fight or flight, you can't reason your way out. You need to physically interrupt the pattern. Step back, stand up, breathe, walk away. Because every second you stay in front of that screen with your heart racing and your palms sweating, you're giving power to the wrong voice, the voice of fear. Fear doesn't care about probabilities. It only cares about certainty. And the only thing certain in that moment is that you can't stand to lose again. So you act, and that action leads to more pain. The cycle continues: loss, emotion, reaction, regret. Until one day you're not trading for profit anymore. You're trading to silence your own anxiety. This is the hidden addiction of trading. Not the charts, not the money, but the emotional roller coaster, the rush, the tension, the relief. It gives your mind something to chase, something to control, something to fix. But the truth is, nothing needs fixing, only observing. Trading is not about mastering the market. It's about mastering your internal state when the market tests you. Because every red candle isn't just a price moving down, it's a mirror. It reflects your fear of loss, your impatience, your ego. Every losing trade is feedback from your own psychology. If you learn to listen to it, it teaches you discipline. If you ignore it, it destroys you. So let me ask you this: when you break your daily loss limit, what are you really saying? You're saying, I don't trust myself to stop. You're saying, I'd rather risk more money than face my emotions. You're saying, my ego is more important than my process. That's not failure. That's awareness waiting to happen. Because the moment you can see that pattern, you can start to break it. It begins with honesty, brutal honesty. Not about the market, about you. How do you react when you lose? What happens in your body? What thoughts appear first? Do you get quiet or loud? Do you think about revenge, or do you shut down completely? These are not just feelings. They are data, the most important data you'll ever collect as a trader. Because until you understand how you respond to loss, you'll keep fighting symptoms instead of causes. You'll keep building systems to protect you from yourself when what you really need is self-understanding. A daily loss limit doesn't work because it's logical. It works because it's emotional. It's a way of saying, this is the point where my mind stops being my ally. Once you know that point, you can design your trading day around it. Not as a punishment, but as protection. Because you don't need to fight your emotions. You need to work with them. Your mind isn't your enemy, it's just afraid. It wants safety, control, certainty. But trading gives you none of those things. So the only real safety comes from within, from your ability to observe your impulses without acting on them. That's the battle. That's the daily war every trader faces. Not against the chart, not against the algorithm, against the self. And the longer you stay in this game, the more you realize the enemy was never out there. It was always inside. That's why the best traders don't chase the feeling of winning. They chase the feeling of calm, because calm is power. Calm is clarity. Calm is profit. When you're calm, you can see the market for what it is, a stream of probabilities, not a reflection of your worth. When you're calm, you can take a loss without losing yourself. And that's when your daily loss limit stops being a rule and becomes a reminder that discipline is freedom, that restraint is strength, that the best trade you'll ever take is the one you don't take when you're not in the right state of mind. You can't fix what you don't understand, and now you understand. The problem was never the number on your loss limit. It was the relationship between that number and your emotions. So how do you build a daily loss limit that actually works? One that doesn't collapse under stress, one that protects both your capital and your mind. It begins here, not on your chart, but in your awareness. Before you trade, ask yourself one question. How much emotional pain can I handle before I start to lose clarity? Don't think in dollars. Think in tolerance. Think in calm. For one trader, that threshold might be 2%. for another 0.5%. For some, it's not even about the number. It's about how many losing trades they can take before emotion hijacks reason. That's your real limit, your psychological stop loss. Once you find it, respect it like your life depends on it, because in a way it does. But awareness alone isn't enough. You need structure rituals that reinforce your clarity when your mind starts to blur. Start with a simple rule: when you hit your limit, you stop. No negotiations, no exceptions, no just one more. Don't trust your future self to make that decision in the heat of emotion. Automation is your ally. Set a hard stop in your platform. Close your session after a set number of trades. Do whatever it takes to make stopping easier than continuing. Because discipline isn't about willpower. It's about design. You can't rely on your mind to stay logical when it's losing. So remove the need for logic. Build systems that protect you from your emotional self. Then when the day ends and you've stopped trading, your real work begins. Sit down with your journal. Write not about the trades, but about how you felt. Were you calm or anxious, hopeful or angry? Did you feel the urge to break your rule? Did you rationalize it in your mind before it happened? This is your psychological data. This is how you map the terrain of your own behavior. Over time, you'll start to notice patterns. Maybe you lose control after 3 consecutive red trades. Maybe it happens only when you're tired. Maybe it's after you've had a winning streak and start to feel invincible. Once you see the pattern, you can anticipate it, and anticipation is power. When you know your emotional cycle, you can stop it before it starts. You can pause before the spiral begins. You can breathe before the impulse takes over. That's what separates mastery from chaos. You see, trading isn't about predicting the market. It's about predicting yourself. The market will always be uncertain, always changing, always testing. But your reactions, those can be known, mapped, and managed. That's what your daily loss limit really represents, a mirror for your emotional maturity. And maturity in trading means this: you don't measure success by how much you win. You measure it by how little you lose when you're wrong. The goal isn't to eliminate emotion. It's to integrate it, to feel fear without being ruled by it, to feel greed without obeying it, to acknowledge your impulses without acting on them. This is emotional risk management, the art of staying steady when everything inside you wants to react. So when you hit your limit, don't see it as failure. See it as a message, a signal that your system is doing its job, protecting you from the part of you that can't think clearly. Step away, breathe, let the market move without you, because the greatest traders aren't those who trade the most. They're the ones who know when not to trade. They understand that every decision in the market carries 2 risks, financial and psychological. The financial risk is visible. It's the number on the chart. The psychological risk is invisible. It's the cost of losing clarity. And that second one is far more expensive. So your real task as a trader is to manage your state before you manage your trades, because your mind is your trading platform. If that platform is unstable, no setup will save you. The market doesn't care about your rules. It doesn't care about your feelings, your expectations, or your plan. It only exposes what's already inside you. So when you feel frustration rising, when you feel that need to fix, to prove, to chase, that's your signal, not to trade, but to stop. Every time you honor that signal, you're rewiring your mind. You're teaching yourself that control isn't about domination, it's about surrender. You're learning that stopping is strength, that walking away is progress, that patience is profit. The daily loss limit is not a cage, it's a compass. It points you back to center. It reminds you that the purpose of trading is not to feel something, but to see something, to see clearly through the fog of emotion, through the noise of price, through the illusion of control. And when you can see clearly, you start to trade differently. You take fewer trades, you risk less, you wait more, you become the observer again, calm, detached, deliberate. You stop fighting the market and start flowing with it. And slowly something changes. You stop measuring your days by profit or loss. You measure them by clarity, by peace, by the simple fact that you stayed aligned with your plan. That's what consistency truly means. Not a straight equity curve, but a stable mind. Because when your mind is stable, your trading becomes an extension of that stability. Every entry, every exit, every pause, a reflection of inner balance. So build your daily loss limit on truth, not theory. Build it on how you feel, not just what you can afford. Build it to protect your state, not your statistics. And most of all, respect it. Respect it the way a pilot respects the sky, the way a diver respects the ocean. Because the market, like nature, doesn't forgive carelessness. It rewards awareness. One day you'll look back at your journey and realize that the moment your trading changed wasn't when you found the perfect strategy. It was when you found the courage to stop trading when you shouldn't. That's when you became a professional. Not when you started winning, but when you stopped losing yourself. Remember, profit is temporary. Clarity is forever. So the next time you hit your limit, don't curse it. Thank it. It's not there to restrict you. It's there to protect you from your impulses, from your ego, from the part of you that still believes more trading equals more control. The truth is simpler. More control equals more peace. And peace in trading and in life is the ultimate profit. Because when your mind is still, you don't need to chase the market. You let the market come to you. And that is the kind of daily limit that truly works. If you've made it this far, you already know the truth most traders spend years avoiding. You don't need to conquer the market. You need to understand yourself. The real edge isn't in predicting price, it's in managing the person behind the trade. Every time you respect your limit, every time you pause instead of chase, every time you choose clarity over impulse, you win a battle that most traders never even fight. That's what Mind Over Markets is all about. Turning trading from a war with uncertainty into a practice of self-mastery. Because once you master your mind, the market stops being an enemy and becomes a mirror. If this episode helped you see trading differently, share it with someone who needs it. And remember, profit fades, but clarity lasts forever. This is Mind Over Markets. Thanks for listening. Stay calm. Trade consciously. And I'll see you in the next episode.